Okay, so here we are with Anthony from The Winter Without. Super glad to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Darlene, and thank you for having me today.
Yeah, you bet. I've got 10 questions for you. The first one's kind of an easy one. Who is The Winter Without?
Well, The Winter Without is me. It's a side project that I started a few years back, and I play all the instruments, the drums, bass, guitar, vocals, triangle. Yes, I've incorporated the triangle in one of my tracks. But musically, The Winter Without is influenced by various emo and alternative genres and even subgenres. I'm sure we're going to dive into the upcoming album, but for now, I'll just say that my sound has a lot of Midwest emo and math rock influences, but I think that it's something that can be enjoyed by people who don't listen to those genres. So I've experimented with different sounds, styles, and I found a solid balance between the serene, melodic aspects of emo and the raw, aggressive elements. So at its core, thematically, and I guess mission wise, if The Winter Without had a mission statement, this album is about looking forward, not being weighed down by the past, whether musically or in my personal life. I think it's important and exciting to see what's next and to grow in a positive, healthy way.
Great. What a good message. So what kicked off this project?
So, flashback to 2018. I left everyone and everything behind and drove across the country to live in Seattle for a bit. I wanted to get away from pretty much everything about my current life and experience living in a place that I had absolutely fallen in love with over the previous year. So it was quite a transformative time. And of course, I still wanted to have that creative outlet. I had been in bands for 6 years and I had just begun to start making music on my own. So I started a project that at the time I called Down Again, which is a name that I kept for a few years before becoming The Winter Without in 2021. Fun fact, today, May 6th, is The Winter Without's fifth birthday.
Whoa,
So,
really? Cool.
yep. When I made the Twitter account, when I made the socials and I set the birthday for the Twitter account, I set the birthday to that day, and that pretty much happened like right when I had this idea of saying, okay, I'm going to create a side project, and this is what it's going to be. So yeah, May 6th. And yeah, I had been in bands for 6 years, like I said, and thought it was time to learn new skills, particularly on the production side. So I figured I know how to play a little bit of these instruments. Why don't I start learning how to make music on my own time and not having to deal with all the drama and stuff that I've experienced in the bands that I was in. So there was definitely a learning curve at first, learning how to engineer, but each project that I created turned out better than the last. So I saw that progression and naturally I kept going. Even when I even when I moved back to New Jersey and joined new bands, I still kept my own music because I had my own message that I wanted to put out into the world. And it's really cathartic, I think, to express yourself through music. From the writing process, recording, mixing, you begin to realize that all those negative feelings are being channeled into a creative outlet, and your focus is now on creating something and setting and achieving goals rather than sinking into a pit of despair over things you can't change.
Wow. So, with all of that context set, kind of where you've been, how this project came to be, kind of what your musical mission is, let's talk about the actual music. So, tell us a little bit about the first single, or maybe I shouldn't say first. Tell us about the single from this project, which is called "Unrelated Popcorn Fire."
Yes, Unrelated Popcorn Fire is the first single and track one from Good Vibes and Trying Times, the name of the record. I think it's a great introduction for this album because I think it's the bridge between the high energy pop punk influences that those fans would enjoy, while also introducing the twinkly Midwest emo style that I've recently taken up and one that you'll hear throughout the rest of the album. So when I wrote this song, it was like a lightning in a bottle moment. Like, I feel like the song wrote itself. And when it was finished, I thought this is absolutely going to be track one. It's the bridge between my old stuff and this new stuff. And when I say that the song wrote itself, I was reading a book that I recently purchased back then on how to write better lyrics. It's called Writing Better Lyrics by Pat Pattinson. So it very straightforward message. It's awesome, great title. So after reading the chapter on metaphors, which was early on in the book, I was like, okay, you were the matches, I was the branches set ablaze, and I just kept that rhyme scheme going. I kept that vowel sound. I guess nothing's changed. I miss when we were strangers. And I really like using flows like that. I'm very intentional about my rhyme schemes, and that makes writing a song so much easier. Oh yeah, and the title comes from a line from a Key and Peele sketch. It works because the popcorn fire is totally unrelated. It has nothing to do with the piece of music that you're about to hear.
Yes, very good. Well, cool. So we just talked about the single. Tell me a little bit about what the album title, Good Vibes and Trying Te Wow, sorry. Tell me a little bit about what the album title, Good Vibes and Trying Times, means to you.
This record explores growing up during a turbulent time in one's life. That's kind of weird to say because aren't all of our times turbulent? Like we're kind of learning as we go along, no matter what stage of life we're in. But I've started writing in my late 20s. I feel like it's about that transitional period, dealing with self-doubt, finding your purpose, trying to find your voice, realizing that we don't always get the closure that we want, and that's okay. Life goes on. We lose friends along the way, either just by growing apart or through tragedies. All the records I've written in the past have dealt with that subject. And I had a friend named Eric who died back in 2015. And, through all the loss, him and other people that I've lost along the way, I realized that grief is not linear. We don't wake up one day and get over it. But the memories of the good times come back every now and then. And unfortunately, so does the grief, right? So it's bittersweet, and I want the music to reflect that. Eric is a big part of the final track, which is called 235 Dakota. It's not entirely a sad song. Yeah, there are some sad lines, but it also has some nostalgic positive elements to it. So I think it's a track that people can sing along to in the car with their best friends and create the kind of memories that inspired the song to begin with. That I think it's beautiful how music can do that. So, all those emotions, I want to convey that in this album. I don't want it to be just sad music. I obviously don't want it to be happy music because that's not really my style. But yeah.
That was really moving. All the themes that you describe, I definitely hear it in the music, and particularly the last track. I definitely agree. It's not altogether a sad song. When I hear it, I think of it as a celebration. I think I mentioned to you, having not been to your home, having not known the people in your life, like the entire record, but particularly the song that you end the record on. It's kind of like seeing a slice of that period and kind of understanding what it means to, yeah, what it means to move on and what it means to kind of say thank you, right, to the past. So cool. Really, really neat. So now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. So some of the previous questions were very just like factual, like who are you? Where are you from? Like tell us, how we got here. So now we're going to kind of go into fantasy land. So obviously people all over the world, they listen to music and they apply it, to their situation, to who they are, to their identities. So there's really no one way to listen to music or take it in. However, as the artist here, I thought I would ask you a question about what is your kind of like with wine pairings, right? Like, what is your recommended circumstance, time of day, mood, location? The room has to be 72 degrees, like that kind of thing, for the best enjoyment for someone's fresh listen of good vibes in trying times.
Anytime, anywhere. I mean, I don't think I often listen to certain bands when I'm in a certain mood. For example, I can listen to American football whether I'm happy or sad, but pro tip, if you wake up and you listen to American football, it's like, did you even try to have a good day? But,
Okay.
really, I guess this record pairs best with sadness. I guess it's best served when you're feeling down. But fortunately, I don't think this is a record that will make you more sad. I think it will like hold you. I think it'll be a comforting experience. And hopefully, I think it will speak to people in a positive way. So you can listen to it when you're down. You can listen to it when you're out there living your best life. I hope that there's elements there that people in any mood will enjoy at any time of day.
Totally. Cool. Great answer. Yeah, I guess it's right there in the album title, huh? Okay. So moving on, did anything surprise you about this album during the development process as it kind of started to shape and came to life, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Really, just how quickly things can come together when you finally have a vision and you're just so focused on it that you have a constant drive to keep working, and it doesn't feel like a drag. It doesn't feel like a chore. When my writing skills were less refined in my earlier work, I couldn't get excited about the music I was creating. It didn't get stuck in my head, and it felt like a grind trying to produce songs that didn't inspire me. And if it's not inspiring to me, it's just not going to work. I'm not going to put my heart into it. So that's why I was deciding to get this album professionally mixed and mastered by my guy Izzy G. Shout out to Izzy. I was listening to this record one day. I was listening to the mixes that I made, which were pretty decent, but not radio ready. And after taking some time away from it, I was thinking, I really like these tracks. I think this album could really be something, but it's missing something that I can't provide at my current skill level. So, looking back on it, I'm surprised that I came up with some of these lines. I'm surprised that I did some of the funky bass things that I did, or the, drum parts that I did. And you can't really hear like all the intricacies in the lead guitar parts. They don't really shine through at some parts, but um, when I was writing the guitars and stuff, like it's just surprising to listen to in hindsight how I came up with some of this. I'm not saying I'm a musical genius. I'm not going there, but for me, it's a huge step up from my earlier work. And for once, I'm really excited to share it with the world.
Awesome. Fabulous. Okay. So we kind of touched on this earlier, but maybe you have like a distilled version or something. Maybe we missed something, but what do you hope listeners take away from this album?
I hope that this album gives you some good vibes in trying times. Yeah, music can do so many things for listeners. It can either take us away from what we're feeling, or it can relate to it. Either way, I hope it does both. If 1,000 people listen to a song, the song is suddenly going to take on 1,000 different meanings. Now, I don't often like talking about the inspiration behind tracks, but when people listen to a song without knowing the artist's meaning, I think that they're much more free to make their own connection to it. Overall, I hope it's just as positive an outlet for you as it was for me. Should I also go into some of the songwriting process for this album?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and how yeah, just because it's on my mind and how it differs from the previous projects that I had. So, um, this process has been so different from the past. I believe that you can't do the same thing over and over and expect different results. So, with every project, I would go through the same cycle. I would put all this work into songs that didn't have the energy I was looking for. And, I would change little parts of that process. But in this case, I changed a huge part of my sound. Buying that Writing Better Lyrics book breathed new life into my songwriting techniques. I had to learn how to write in different tunings, write in a different genre, essentially. And I did this in a very short amount of time. Writing these 6 songs took about 2 months. I was picking it up so quickly and had actually established the sound I was looking for all these years. So to make it so much easier on myself, I took a much more holistic approach. I focused exclusively on the songwriting first, not considering any weird effects or tones or any engineering magic. First and foremost, I had to get the songwriting down. Everything else was just a bonus. So I kept it simple and stuck to the basics. I only have 4 tools at my disposal. I got drums, bass, guitars, and my voice. And my mission was, okay, create a good record using only those tools.
Cool. Is there more to add there? Or?
No, we can move on.
Okay. Well, you're such a gracious interview subject because I did definitely skip a question there. So thank you. I'm glad we were able to go back because that was really insightful. Cool. So, I mean, you just said it. You're playing drums, bass, guitar, you're singing, and triangle. Can't forget triangle. So when you are
Yeah.
producing and writing something all on your own and kind of putting it together, um, you know, that process then compared to, your history playing with bands and everything, how do you think about this album compared to, playing live? And I guess that probably means something different to you than how I worded it. But yeah, I'm just wondering when you think about these songs in your head and you hear the fact that you play them, you're writing and playing all the parts to make this record. What does that transition look like to playing this live somewhere?
That's a really good question because I've never played live with The Winter Without.
Mhm.
Um, I remember doing like a live acoustic set like when COVID hit, but this answer that I'm going to give you like is actually interesting because part of this holistic approach that I took was imagining this band playing on stage, right? Because if I make music from the perspective of just some dude in his home studio messing around with some instruments, I don't think the music will have that much power. Instead, I imagine myself and a full band performing these tracks at a packed venue, screaming these words, yelling this message out to 2,000 people. And I think that just that mental technique, just that, you know, vibe, that imaginary scenario translates to a more powerful album. So effectively, I kind of got that live experience, but there's really nothing better than experiencing that for yourself. Like just last summer, my former band played at the legendary Stone Pony down in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And we performed, one of the songs we did was a song that I co-wrote. And I can't tell you how cool it was to sing words that I wrote while standing in the same place as Bruce Springsteen and tons of my favorite bands that I've seen at that venue over the years. It was just, I really hope that someday, if I get the willpower and time to maybe create a band around this and take it all around New York and just see how it goes.
Incredible. Well, first of all, that's really cool. We just shared about the Stone Pony. But so the last question kind of transitions perfectly. So, what is next for The Winter Without?
That is the question, isn't it? You know, I'm asking myself. Uh, right now, I'm just focusing on getting the Good Vibes album out there, seeing how people react to it. I haven't been writing much at all lately. Just chilling and vibing, working in the real world. Uh, but I can imagine writing more. Every now and then, I get an idea for a song or lyrics, and of course, I do what I always do. I write them down in my ideas folder, or if it's like a something I want in audio form, I'll open up voice memos and lay down something real quick. But I think this is a brand new chapter in The Winter Without. and I can assure you it's not going to end here.
Fabulous. Okay, well, that's the end of the questions that I gave you. Is there anything else that you want to add? Oh, you gotta say like the date and everything that this is all coming out, right?
Absolutely. And I have to do some plugs, right? Plug some socials and all, give
Yeah,
my thank yous.
yeah, of course.
First of all, thank you again, Darlene, for having me here to talk about this project. I think it was really cool for me to dive into my creative process over the years. So thank you very much for having me. Thanks to all of you out there who have been listening, whether you're a new listener or you've been there from the beginning 5 years ago. Thank you so much. Izzy G, once again, thank you for helping me make this record, and shout out to Max for being the best album art model that I can ask for. So, if you want to listen to good vibes in trying times, you can do so on Friday, May 12th. The single Unrelated Popcorn Fire is already out there on Spotify. Um, this album is going to be available on all major streaming outlets, including streaming outlets I've never heard of. You can follow me on Twitter. It's just Winter Without, no the, but Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, it's all The Winter Without.
Cool. Awesome. Just less than a week away from the big day. Cool, 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 cool.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you for your candid answers and everything else. So awesome. We did it.